Left and right, front and back. And press down just that little bit into the soles of the feet. Create some energy in the thighs and the calves. If the knees want to soften a bit, then go with that. And then sink the tailbone. So it's a small move, but we can immediately feel the effect it makes. Take the back of the waist area. See if you can move those vertebrae back a couple of millimeters. And then the spine behind the ribs, just move it forward a fraction. And take the neck backwards a fraction. And lift up along the skull, base of the neck. And just review top to bottom, feeling that adjustment all the way along the spine, all the way down through the legs. So review from the soles of the feet up to the base of the skull. And then use the fingers, tapping or rubbing all through the abdominal wall. Just a little bit of energy here. And then when we're ready, we'll just slow down and bring the fingertips low into the core, just above the pubic bone. With the inhale, run the fingers up the center, lift the elbows, lift the shoulders, and just release the arms. We want to move at our own breath tempo. Sometimes the breath will be shorter, sometimes longer. Now, let's do one more. So once the arms are down, just keep the weight of the shoulders off of the ribs, and then just draw some figure eights with the arms. So imagine drawing a figure eight on each side of the body. Figure out the direction the arms are moving, and when you're ready, slow down and then reverse that direction. And then let's just slow down again and just pause, let the arms hang for a moment. And coming back down to the soles of the feet, float the heels just off the mat. And pausing, just keeping the heels not too high, and feel the balance of weight you're creating along the base of the toes. Dropping the tailbone, lengthening along the back body, along the spine. And then let's put the heels back down and we'll lift the toes. And back and forth, heels floating off. Heels go down, the toes lift. For ourselves, gently taking the heels a little higher, if that makes sense. But when we have the heels off the mat, just work through the base of the toes and try to spread weight across the base of the toes. Okay. When the heels go down, we'll do one more. When the heels are down, just keep them on the mat, bring the toes off the ground, pause there. See if you can put just the big toes back on the mat, dropping the tailbone, switching, big toes lifted, other toes down, switching again. So just doing a handful. And then let's come neutral. Just release the toes into the ground for a moment and just dig them down. So kneed into the mat, left and right. Okay, and then releasing, pausing here. We're going to bend the knees, hands down, round the knees, and get a circle started. Once you have a circle, tuck the tailbone, press the vertebra back, lift along the neck. And let's do both directions, back and forth. And then let's come into neutral. Once we're in the center, see if the hips will drop a little further, engage the glutes. So the chin's a little tucked, we're lifting at the neck. Now let's work with the hands. Run the fingers up the center line, lift the elbows, pull the shoulders, the ribs up, and take ourselves tall. And now as the arms descend, once the arms drop below the shoulders, let the knees soften. Let's bend right back over again. Hands will come onto the knees. So some weight through the hands so we can take weight out of the low back. The tailbone's tucked, round the back. And then let's change direction. So on the inhale, move the hips back, take the chest forward, upward, keep reaching along the base of the skull. With the hips back, still have that little tuck at the tailbone. When you have an exhale, reverse the spine again, rounding all along the back body. And use an inhale, hips going back, chest lifting and reaching outward. And rounding over our last time here. So when we're ready with an inhale, we'll use it to come tall again. Our fingers up the center line. Elbows really do pull the shoulders, pull the ribs. And we'll stay up tall. And then we'll move our feet apart, about hips width. So hands at the hips, knees soft, knees bent, tailbone dropped. And then we find a circle in the hips. Remembering both directions. And when it feels balanced, we'll pause in the center. Now let the hips come a bit lower, run the hands down onto the thighs. So press weight through the hands. Now let's do one more circle from this position and circle the diaphragm around the spine. So base of the ribs is moving in a circle, going round the spine, one direction then the other. And do let this move up into the arms and shoulders. And let's make our way back into neutral. And then once again, more weight through the hands so the low back doesn't have to work as hard. The tailbone starts tucked, so use the exhale to round the spine. With the inhale, move the hips back, the chest forward and up, reach along the neck. And on the exhale, tucking, rounding. So we'll get 2 or 3 of these. When you do the inhale, once you're extended, just monitor the tailbone, create a little tuck there. And end up on the exhale with the back rounded. And then let's bring ourselves tall when we're ready. We're going to flow up the center line, elbows to shoulders to ribs to full length. And we'll just keep ourselves tall. And we'll land the hands on the hips. And now let's do our twist and our forward bend. So the exhale moves the right side back, release the arm behind. Inhale, bring it up as you turn forward and run the hand down the left side as you exhale over. Now inhale back to neutral, just flowing with our breath. Okay, let's do our last set. So when we're ready, just bring the feet a bit closer, just pausing here for a moment, finding the length we can create through our back body. And then we're going to do a few balancing. So we'll start this by lifting the right knee and then the left. When the foot comes down, see if you can just touch with the ball of the foot before the heel comes down. And next time you have the right come up, just open it out to the side and touch the ball of the foot, bring the right back up and take it down in front. And staying engaged in the core. So there is this lift that we have through the ribs and the sinking down in our tailbone. And when you do a left, just pause after a left. So we'll just come back into the center. Now, once we've done a left, balancing the feet, lengthening the back body, and with an inhale, sweep out and up. And we'll pause with the arms up. So we've rotated the arms, we're gently lifting up through the palms. We feel the shoulders come off the ribs, dropping the tailbone. Okay, so let's bring an elbow and a knee together. So just the right knee lifting, the right elbow descending, and then back up, and then the left. So the arm that stays up, really reach through that arm. So don't feel you need to turn this into a fast thing side to side. We want to, for ourselves, really feel that the long side is staying long and having a clear reach. Okay, when it's the right, let's just pause for a moment. And so make the right arm long. So the right arm resting on the right knee or close to it, press with the hands in both directions. And then back up, pause for breath, maybe 2. And when you're ready, let's bring elbow to knee on the left side. And then just lengthening on that left arm. Okay, and then back up. And then let's release the arms down. Okay. So we'll work the feet wider apart. Turn the feet in a little bit, sink the knees, drop the hips. And then let's sweep the arms up again. Push for the ceiling. And then straight out in front and pressing forward. So the shoulder blades moving along the sides of the body, moving away from the spine. Reaching up along the neck, and then let the arms float wider, all the way out from the shoulders. Just a little bit, one side and the other. Pressing equally into the feet. And gently extending, maybe a little further. Okay, so after reaching to the right, come to neutral, fold the arms in so fingertips are on the shoulders. Now we're going to get a handful of easy circles here. Nice, free, easy movement, both directions. And then when we're ready, we'll just take the elbows out to the side, still dropping in the tailbone, connecting to the feet. So right elbow forward and then left. Face stays forward and hips are forward. So we're turning the shoulders and the ribs around the spine. And when the left arm is forward, pause there, reach out the left, release the right, point the fingers down, the elbow lifts up. And then smoothly switching. Now, when the right arm is out in front, out nice and long, just pause there. And then bring the left forward. So we're facing forward through the torso. And then simply take the fingertips back onto the shoulders. And just ending with a handful of easy circles. And then elbows wide and extend the arms. So slowly float the arms up, lightly pressing out in the palms, keeping the neck long. Once we're tall here through the arms, out to the palms, drop the hips. Feel the tailbone drop. And now let's come tall. So release the wrists, point the fingers at the ceiling, reach through the fingertips, take the legs up long, heels are off the mat, and then put the heels down, let the arms come down. And let's play with a block. Okay, so we're going to have the feet wide again. Find the back body. Always looking for that little drop we can just produce like that in our tailbone. So holding the block, let's hold it any way you like, but I'm going to start with it horizontal. And when I inhale, I'm going to swing the arms up and take the length. Now, when you exhale, bend the knees, touch the block onto the mat. And when you inhale, come back up. And then once you're long, just lift the heels, not too high, heels are down, and then back all the way down. So be careful with the ankles, right? We can overwork the ankles on that. So just that feeling of weight off the heels. When the block is down, it's like there's a little seat back there and you're just dropping the hips for it. So the block doesn't have to land back between the feet, right? It can land forward. Okay, so next time we're low, let's do something a bit different. So stay low. Now, hands are on the block can have any orientation, and then lift the hips and drop the head. So just adjust the block, the hands, so that's supportive, and just take a moment to allow the head to hang down. Okay, so bend the knees again, sink the hips. Now take the right hand, take the block in the right hand and just slide it over on the right foot toward the right foot on the right side, and then lift the left arm up. And then take that left arm down, take the block with the left hand over to the left, and lift up the right arm. So the tailbone is tucked. We're going side to side. And for ourselves, we want to keep the hips dropped. When the block is at either side, use that arm to stop that knee from just rolling inward. And just one more set, side to side. And when you're done, bring the block in the center, arms, hands on the block, head dropped over, legs lifted straight. Okay, now let's come standing from here. So both hands have the block. As you inhale, lift up, take the block all the way overhead. Just lift the heels, put the feet down. Okay, so both hands are holding the block, but I'm gonna let go and just the right hand's got the block. And then I'm gonna sink down and I'm gonna put the block on the ground with the right hand. Then I'm gonna come tall, get the block on the left, go down on the left side. So when you touch the block to the ground, just have it where it makes most sense. And just supposing you wanted this to be a little challenging or you feel it could be a bit deeper, then the hand that goes down doesn't have the block. Right? So there's two versions. And when you get up, just pause there. Okay, so what we're going to do next means that the hand that goes low doesn't have the block. So if my hand doesn't comfortably touch the ground, then I have my forearm on the thigh, okay? So I'll go to the right first. So I'm going to touch my right hand down, and then I'm going to take the block behind and give it to the right hand and come back up. So for the left side, my left hand goes down, the block goes behind the back, past underneath. Okay, so when you do the left side, after that, just pause for a moment. And we're going to bring the feet a bit closer. So think of the feet under the hips. Go for that distance. Just take a moment, feel the weight even in the feet. So I'm going to leave the block in my right hand. I'm going to reach out. And now I'm going to lean weight over to the right. So it just comes onto my right foot. The left foot floats out. So tuck the tailbone here. It's really easy to kind of poke the hips back, and you want to have the tailbone tucked. And then when it feels like it's enough, come back in neutral. Get the weight even in the feet before you change sides. So arms at shoulder height. We're going toward the block, whichever hand has it, leaning the weight. At some point, that opposite foot can float up, tailbone tucked. And, even just touching the big toe on the ground, right? Where there's just that little bit of balance stability again. So we've got a whole range of options here, depth. But allowing ourselves to actually find some balance. So maybe just a big toe kind of lightly touching the mat. Okay, so when we go to the left, we'll pause after that. Okay, so we've got the block in the hands in front. So just take it out just about shoulder width height, maybe a bit lower, just below shoulders. Tuck the tailbone, let the knees bend a bit. So come down a little bit lower, and then release one leg, reach it back, reach out through the block. It's tempting to look at the block, but look toward the mat without dropping the head down. And when it feels like enough, bring the foot down, come back up. So we'll go side to side just a couple more times. It's important we work with the core, the low back. It's always important to help the low back. We find the tuck in the tailbone. And also how we place the head and the neck affects the low back. So we want to try to work with the head lined up with the spine, the neck extended and the eyes just downward. And we don't want to feel we have to rush one side to the other. It's nice to come neutral for an instant. So let's say if we're doing more, run our last set. Okay, so whenever we're finished, we're in neutral. So we're going to keep the feet on the ground, basically about hips width apart. We're going to still work with the block. It's in the right hand. We're going to swing that right arm up and out, and we're going to drop the block and just touch the block, ideally flat. If you can touch it flat on the back, and then swing it up, and then in front, hand it to the left, and the left comes up, touches the back. Let's do that once more for each side. So end with a left. And then once again, just the right hand has the block, but rather than go over to touch the back, come below and touch the back. And change hands in front. Okay, left is last. And then we're going to put it all together. So we'll go back to the right hand. We'll go with the block going up and over, but now the left hand goes behind. It gets the block, and then it goes from the top behind. And we just pass the block between the hands. Now, as we're working here, dropping the tailbone, want to gently move the back of the waist backwards. So let's do our last set. So left hand gives the block back to the right. So we just pass the block from upper to lower. Let's take the block the other way. So now the right hand comes low, the left hand goes up and gets the block, and then it goes low. So there's interesting places here when the hands are behind the back, and the hand reaching for the block sometimes doesn't get it, right? It can't quite find it to take hold. And at those times, it's worth slowing down and giving more attention to what the hands are doing, and giving the body, the neurology, a chance to work it out, our proprioceptive sense of where the body is. Okay, so when we get the block in the left hand, just pausing there. Okay. So let's get the block a break. Okay. So we'll just take a quick run through a standing pose sequence. And we'll do it we'll do it as a vinyasa. So we'll do it energetically. We'll have some flowing motion. We're going to start with the feet wider than the shoulders. We're going to start with the arms out wide. So when we're ready to move, use an exhale. Turn out the right leg, bend at the knee, and drop that left hand down somewhere on ground or somewhere on the leg. And that upper arm just reaches up. Keep the neck long, and an inhale brings us back to where we began. An exhale takes us to the other side. So first we want to find a rhythm, want to find balance in the feet, find the breath. And then what we're going to add to this when we're ready, when you're low at either side, to come up, we're going to windmill the arms. So the lower arm reaches forward and up, that other arm drops down, and it's like the arms are one big pole. We kind of will unwind into a version of Warrior Two. And then we're going to go to the other side. So windmilling through the arms. So next time you're at the right side, you're all the way down. When you come out of the pose, come up and pause in Warrior Two. And then just take a moment where you're looking down that front arm, the right arm, turn the right palm up, lift it up, drop that back arm. And then when you're ready, back to Warrior Two, and then straighten the leg. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So first we windmill to the left. We're low, right angle pose. And then windmill back up and linger for a moment in Warrior Two. We're looking at the right hand, the palms up. Inhale, lifts the arm, drops the other. Back to Warrior Two. Straighten the legs. So once more each side, we're going to add to it. So we'll get ourselves without rushing into Warrior Two. Once we're here, again, we'll lift the front arm, drop the back, and then we'll come back to Warrior Two. Here's where we add a step, reach forward, put this front hand down, upper arm touch the hip, put the front hand down on the ground, out to the outside of the foot, hop the back leg up, lift it up, put the back leg down, bending the front knee. All right, press on both feet, come back to Warrior Two, straighten up. So we do the same thing on the other side. So windmill, bend that left knee, land that right arm. So find the feet. When you're ready, windmill back out of here, pause in Warrior Two, lift the front arm, drop the back arm, back to Warrior Two, and then reach forward, put that front arm down, back arm touches the hip, hop up the back foot, float it off the ground. And when we're ready to leave, we bend the front knee, land the back foot, strong in the feet, up to Warrior Two. Legs are straight, hands come down. We get to go to the ground. So lots of ways to get there. One fun way to play is to see if we can come down with a squat. We can either pause for a moment in the squat, do a handful of squats, or we can just sit down. They're all going to work. Once we're ready, we'll just come onto the mat. We've got the hands back from the hips. And then we're going to move the legs side to side. This is a fun move to do slowly. When you get to the side, you can tuck the tailbone a little bit. Now, when we take the legs over to the right side, Leave them there. Let's bring ourselves up. So we're not leaning back on the hands. We're gonna have the right hand out forward of the hips, out to the right. And the left arm just gonna sweep out. And just linger up long for a moment, long enough to sink the tailbone. Make that change. And then up higher, over and sweep. Now this third sweep, reach forward and up, and then reach out in the hands, lift the hips. And then down, and as you go down, drop the arm forward and back over to the other side, and then sweep forward, lift. I'm gonna do one more. And then hips are down, just drop that arm down. Let's change sides. So lean back on the hands, float the legs up, give them a shake maybe, and drop them to the other side. So here we've got the left hand in front of the hip. So right arm goes back, it's gonna swing up, and just take that length, drop back. So as long as we're keeping the hips on the ground, we'll get a real circle. Now, the next time we come forward and up, we're gonna lift. So once we get there, we'll lift. And now drop forward. Don't circle back. So it's just an arc now, front half of the arc. If you like it up there, we can always just pause for a moment. And then when we're ready, back down. We're gonna leave here. So lean back, so you can undo the legs, give them a shake, and then land the feet. So we brought the knees up, just reach underneath. We're gonna do this 2 versions. Hold the arms, and then gently draw the chest down toward the thighs. Let the chin tuck, just relax the head forward, tuck in the belly, and just do a bit of work with the arms where we're hugging. Okay, if you're on a slippery surface, let the heels slip forward a little bit. In either case, let go with the arms, put the palms down on the ground, so forearms are parallel, and then let's press down with the legs, pressing some weight on the forearms. Now relax the arms and the shoulders. They don't do any work. And just gently press with the legs. Don't try to make the back go somewhere. Just breathe deep into the belly and keep a gentle pressure through the legs onto the forearms. Okay, lift the knees, relax, and just take the arms out. Now let's change our position completely again, and let's come onto the front body. So initially, we'll bring the forearms one in front of the other, and just rest the forehead on either forearm. Just releasing in the low back, in the hips, on the thighs. Now bring the legs closer so the legs make contact. A bit of energy through the glutes, gently pressing the pubic bone toward the mat, the tailbone's tucked. And then lift the head off the forearms and take the forearms straight out sideways from the shoulders. Turn the face towards the mat and keep the face just off the ground. And then lightly press on the fingers. And let's turn the head, and we're going to look toward the right hand. Lower the head a bit closer to the ground when it's turned to the right. And then bring the head up a bit more. We turn to neutral, and we turn left, and it comes a bit lower toward the ground. Again, lifting the head a little bit for neutral, and slowly side to side. There's enough energy in the hands that the shoulders themselves are slightly raised from the ground. Keeping the tailbone a little tucked here. Keep the energy in the glutes. And we're on our last cycle. So looking left is the last time, and then the head's back to neutral. And when you're there, just have the chin a little tucked, lengthen along the neck, and then bend up the elbows, pull the hands in, and when the hands come in closer to the body, turn the fingers in towards each other. And then just adjust so we've got comfortable angles for our body. But imagine that the elbows are straight out to the side from the shoulders, maybe a tiny bit higher, and the wrists more or less below the elbows. Again, our version, but the fingers point in towards each other. So we've got the face just off the mat. Now turn the head to the right, look at that right wrist, slowly to neutral, and then to the left, seeing the left wrist. And very lightly pressing outward at the elbow. Not a lot of work, but just so the body knows. Now, after you look at the left, just keep the head in place looking at the mat for a moment. We're going to start with the right knee now. I'm going to pull the right knee up, and just as far as it's comfortable, and then slide the right knee back down. Now, if you're on a carpet, you may want to have the knee not carrying too much weight going up or down. But slowly side to side. Don't feel something we want to rush. And certainly feel the movement, the articulation in the hips. Okay, next time that right knee's up, just bring it up, let the weight of the right leg go on the ground, turn the head, look under the shoulder, see the right knee. And then we're going to take the weight out of the knee so we can stretch the leg back. The head comes neutral. The left comes up while the head's in neutral. And then turn the head left, see the knee under the shoulder, and send the leg back. So same thing, another time each side. Okay, we're going to do it again on each side, but a variation. Look right, then bring the knee up into view. Watch the leg go back. Head goes neutral. Look left, bring the knee up into view. Leg goes back. And then same thing again. Once more each side, we look and watch the knee come up. We watch it go back. And then once you've done the left, we're going to change the orientation of the hands. Point the fingers out up from the head. So we've rotated in the wrists. And then once you've done that, look under the right, bring the right knee up. And once the right knee's up, push on the hands, lift the upper body. Now look over the shoulder, see the right knee. And then back down, all the way down, look neutral, take the right leg back. And then for the left, look left, bring the knee up, press on the hands, lift and look over the shoulder, and then back down, and then the leg goes back. And don't rush side to side. So to do the move, we look under the armpit, bring the knee up, press up, look over the shoulder, come back down, and then release the leg. Okay, so next time you make it to the right, just pause there. We're going to lift up on the right side, look over the shoulder, and then we're going to move the weight over to the left. So bend the left knee a little bit, lift the right knee. We're going to keep the hands on the ground and then just maneuver where you've got that leg lifted. So you're going to find it in stages first time we do this. So take it slow, look under the shoulder, bring the knee up, press up, look over the shoulder, see the knee. Okay, now whichever side's the side that's on the ground, bend that knee a little bit, lift the knee you brought up, lift the leg, shift the weight over onto the side, and then bring the knee down. So there's a lot of freedom of movement here, and some of this we need to find in our own body. But when you're ready for neutral, just pause in neutral for a moment. And then look under the next side you're going to do. We look under the armpit, bring the knee up, rest the leg, press on the hands, lift up, look over the shoulder. And then see if you can lift the leg and put the weight on that hip that's on the ground. And then put the knee back down, release down, extend the leg. So we look under the other shoulder, we bring the knee up, we press up the arms, we look over the shoulder, see the leg, and then keeping the hands on the ground, just float the leg up, and floating the leg is going to put the weight on the other hip. Leg goes down, we release down. And, you know, if the shoulders and wrists are getting tired, good time to pause, just stretch the arms out. Just reaching the arms long out in front for a moment here. And now let's leave here and put ourselves in child's pose. So bring the hands under the shoulders, come up onto hands and knees. Handful of cat and dog stretches. And then knees are going to go wide apart, big toes are coming close, hips drop back. Put the arms where they're comfortable. Look after the knees, right? We may need to have the arms walked out in front so they can take some of the weight of the body and the hips don't come down onto the knees. So find our variation that keeps the knees comfortable, allows us to tuck the tailbone, allows us to release some weight down. Okay, let's bring the hips up. Now bring the knees under the hips and keep the hips back of the knees. We're on the forearms. We're going to walk the arms out long. So we get the elbows off the ground. The arms are straight. Just make contact through the palms and the fingers. Tuck the tailbone. So have a feeling internally of pressing the hips back, but they can't really go anywhere. Right? We just want to get that scoop in the tailbone. Now think of the neck. Keep the neck comfortable and long. So you want to keep the head lined up with the spine, and then move the hands further apart. So hands just maybe a bit wider than the shoulders, not a lot. And then come onto the outside edge of the palm, that knife edge of the hand, and press out with the palm, press down on that knife edge. Now lift the ribs a little bit higher, tuck the tailbone and press the hips back. So the face is toward the floor, the eyes look back toward the knees without tipping the face. And if it's okay here, tuck the toes under, press the hips back. Okay, now let's lift up. So hips lift, shift the weight forward, place the hands under the shoulders, and then a handful of cat and dog stretches. And looking to create free, easy movement along the spine, shoulders and hips, neck, and all along the spine. Okay, let's come neutral. Okay, so we're going to sit down on a side. So right down on one hip, and then that lower arm right down under the forearm. And then once you're down on the forearm, stack the hips one above the other, the knees straight forward from the hip. And then the top leg, extend it out long. It lines up with the spine. Just be careful not to push the hip down. So now the top hip, in this case, is not above the bottom. So keep an eye on that internally. Leg is straight down from the spine, tailbone tucks. Both forearms coming to the mat. So some energy onto the edge of the foot in contact with the ground. Tailbone is tucked, the spine lengthens. Walk the forearms a little forward perhaps, but the ribs don't touch the ground. And then this upper arm, push outward and forward so the elbow's off. Find the knife edge. So gently pressing in the palm. And connect that upper foot all the way down there with that upper hand all the way out there. Make a connection through the core. So there's a real active pressing downwards via the tailbone. Okay, let's release. So bend in the knee, bring that upper arm in so we can walk up and just switch to the other side. So it's really worth being fussy internally with where we've got the hips placed, keeping this upper hip above the lower hip. And keeping it in line with the spine. It's easy to bring the foot forward somewhere. That's an exaggeration, but we don't want that. We definitely don't want it reaching back. We want that ability to get that little scoop in the tailbone. And then both forearms are on the mat. They walk forward a little bit. Stay in touch with the sides of the feet on the mat. Keep the ribs off the mat. When we're ready, that upper arm reaches forward and wide a bit and out, and make contact on that knife edge of the palm. Keep the neck long. Keep the tailbone tucked. And see if you can connect that reaching hand to that pressing foot. Okay, we're going to release. So upper side relaxes, arm and leg pull in, and we're just going to go right onto the back body. Now, once we're on the back, just allow the body to release. Now, take the right palm behind the head. Just let the head rest on the palm. Bring the feet a bit closer to each other, to the hips. Now, when we exhale, lift the head in the hand, bring the right knee in this time. So left hand can help the right knee get a bit closer, but don't force the contact. Just make this easy. And then inhale, the foot's down, the head's down. We're going to do 5 more. So right leg coming in, right hand helping the head lift. So once we've done, just keep the head on the hand. Just take a moment to tuck the tailbone, press the sacrum flat. Now we're going to come up again, still using the right hand behind the head, but we're going for the left knee now. So on the exhale, bring the head up, bring the other knee in. And doing 5 more. Keeping the tailbone tucked, the sacrum, especially when we're coming down, sacrum's flat. So once we're finished, then the hand comes out from behind the head and the arms release on the ground for a couple of breaths. And just working in the hips, pressing down through the sacrum. Use the belly, pressing on the sacrum. Now we're going to take the left hand, the palms under the head. Allow the head to rest on the palm for a moment. And we're going to start with the left knee. So as we exhale, left hand picks up the head, left knee comes in, right hand's going to help all the way down when we inhale. We'll do 5 more. So once you've done that set, just pause for a moment, long enough to be clear about the tailbone, clear about the sacrum. And then we're going to the opposite leg. When we exhale, lift the head, bring the opposite knee in. And just going for that extra 5. And then once we've done, release the head, release the arms. Okay. Hopefully the block is easy to reach. And when you're ready to, see if you can grab the block. So the knees are still bent. We're going to bring the feet so the inside edges of the feet touch. And we're going to put the block between the legs, just below the knees. And we want the block its full width between our legs. So we need to keep the block held in place. There's a light pressure there. Press the sacrum flat. And then we're going to take the block toward the left. So keeping contact with the block, that right foot, we let it tip up off the ground. So the inside edges of the feet stay in touch. And then when we're ready, we come back up. We land both feet for a moment. The block goes to the right. So the left foot now tips up. Inside edges stay in contact. So as we're rolling across the hip, going side to side, at that point, flatten the sacrum. Work on the tailbone being tucked through the whole cycle. And we're going to do our last cycle. And so whenever we're finished, going right is last. Just take the block out for a moment and just let the legs relax. Okay, we're going to do a version of the same thing. So inside edges of the feet touching. Now the block is lower down where the inner thighs can squeeze the block. And you probably just need the block between the upper legs. The block, I don't think, has to go and be between the lower legs, but it's kind of our choice there. What we do want, though, is the clear feeling of we can squeeze the inner thighs onto the block. So once we find that, again, we'll tip left first, and as the legs go left, let the right foot lift off so the inner sides of the feet are in contact. And staying in touch with the tailbone tucked. Coming through neutral there, the sacrum flat. Maintaining that kind of even pressure through the inner thighs. Okay, let's do our last cycle. So once we bring the knees back up, once we're done, just take the block away. And then we'll bring the arms down below the shoulders, just a comfortable place. Now let the knees come open. And then scrape down the outside edge of one foot to lengthen that leg, and then the other foot to lengthen that leg. And just moving the feet wider apart, resting the arms, the shoulders. Just have that little bit of tuck to the chin that relaxes the throat and has a longer feeling through the neck.